As a seasoned survivor of countless slasher movies, I've seen my fair share of terrifying creatures and relentless killers. Uh, from the icy cold woods of Crystal Lake to the small town of Woodsboro, I've faced them all. And so let me tell you about these three foes who dared to cross paths with Jason Voorhees, the unstoppable slasher icon. And after the thrilling clash between horror icons Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and Freddy vs. Jason, fans have been eagerly anticipating another epic showdown. This time between Jason and Michael Myers, building most of the income, and 28 days have been never been uh, since his debut as the main antagonist in Friday the 13th Part 2. Jason has amassed a tremendous horror movie kill count, solidifying his status as one of the genre's most formidable villains. This pretty much chanced to him billed by their family member, Twisted members, Joint Film Nintendo. They were, for decades, fans have speculated which horror baddies Jason would utterly beat down in a one-on-one bout, and sometimes which ones would deliver a knockout themselves. Jason Voorhees has already faced off against fellow slasher movie icons in comics and movies in the past. However, it remains a tantalizing what-if type scenario to imagine the killer of Camp Crystal Lake taking on some of the other most famous villains of horror movie and history. And there are so many to choose from. Horror villains who could beat Jason Voorhees, Bruce the Shark from Jaws. When movie fans think of horror movies, they often think of slasher flicks, but movies like Jaws with an animal that causes chaos for the main characters and strikes fear into the population of a small town are horror movies as well. The shark in Jaws, it's known as Bruce by those who created him for the movie, is a neural. When comparing characters in horror films, for instance, Chucky from the Child's Play series has an amusing element due to his status as a killer doll, yet he still manages to be intimidating with his space, impressive kill count. However, it's safe to say that even at his best, Chucky wouldn't stand a chance against Jason in a fight. Chucky's evolution, despite being cunning, deceitful, and equally deadly as Jason, Chucky remains a doll. While he might manage to hold his own for a short while, ultimately he would be captured by Jason and likely sent flying across Crystal Lake, meeting an ignominious and, swift demise. The evolution of the Child's Play franchise into comedy, coupled with the fact that Chucky is frequently killed by a child in the films, indicates that he stands no chance against his adversary, Samara from The Ring. And the ability to scare someone to death is definitely a handy and worthwhile tool for a horror villain to possess, either against helpless victims or other villains. Yet for a cold-hearted and remorseless killer like Jason, the powers of the TV demon Samara from The Ring won't do much. Samara comes after her victims 7 days after they watch the cursed video, making it impossible to escape her wrath. However, the entire concept of her threat doesn't seem like something Jason would have to deal with. The fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer, in the subsequent sequels of the I Know What You Did Last Summer series, the fisherman transforms into a more legendary figure. However, in the initial two films, he is an ordinary man who takes up a hook as his preferred weapon against a group of teenagers, similar to how Jason Leaders and Voorhees operates. Like Jason, the fisherman seeks revenge and eliminates anyone who stands in his path. However, unlike Jason, he is a living blood and flesh individual who attacks violently instead of appearing as a spectral entity. And consequently, Jason might prove more resilient should they engage in a fight or similar vehicle to innovate. Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street. Similar to Jason, Freddy Krueger exhibits supernatural traits that surpass his human qualities. Freddy dwells within a dimension centered on dreams, yet he can manifest in the waking world who are notably, these two terrifying figures have clashed before in the film Freddy versus Jason, where they both aimed to terrorize the same group of teenagers. In this battle, neither emerged as the clear winner, as the movie ended inconclusively with no definitive victor. However, since Freddy was decapitated in the film, it implies that Jason might have the upper hand. Thus, for practical purposes, one could say that Jason came out on top. The xenomorph from Alien, in plain terms, when Hollywood depicted Jason as indestructible, they weren't joking. Across 11 films, Jason has endured being shot, drowned, and even sent to hell, but he always manages to return. Compared to the xenomorphs from the Alien series, who are indeed fearsome and lethal, they can be defeated with appropriate weaponry. The xenomorphs in the Aliens movie, for instance, were killed in large numbers, so it's doubtful that Jason would find much trouble dealing with them even without advanced technology. Ghostface from Scream. In contrast to typical slasher movie antagonists who reappear film after film, the Ghostface killer from Scream is distinct because different individuals don the mask and wield the knife. In each sequel, Mystery, however, all these killers share a characteristic. They are human. Ghostface is portrayed as a vulnerable adversary, often stumbling or being knocked over while chasing victims. This adds an interesting twist to the trope, but it's questionable whether such a character could stand up against Jason in combat. The monster from Frankenstein, the creature from Frankenstein, as generally depicted, deviates from the typical image of a horror antagonist. Initially portrayed in 1931, he was unwillingly given the role of an adversary. However, with the passage of time, Frankenstein's monster transformed into a horror staple and gradually assumed a more villainous role. In a hypothetical confrontation between Frankenstein and Jason from Friday the 13th, it would be clear that Jason would have an upper hand Although both are undead entities, Jason possesses a machete, unquenchable thirst for blood, and strength far exceeding that of Frankenstein, thereby rendering their encounter brief, small. In a unique twist, the original Frankenstein's monster, despite his supernatural strength, often displays a gentleness inherent within him. This sensitivity could potentially make him hesitant towards harming someone like Jason. However, any reluctance on his part might be exploited cruelly, as Jason would not spare the pitiful creature that Frankenstein brought to life. And thanks for watching, and until next time.